fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
It's very close. These guys want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go. Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Oh, we've missed this. It's been a week since our last week of action at Just Send It, but tonight's car and track combination yet again is going to be ever thrilling. Welcome to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, located just a half-hour drive from downtown Barcelona itself, one of the newest circuits to the iRacing service. And today it hosts week 4 action of Just Send It, with all coverage on your beloved SimSpeed TV. What a circuit we are at right now. I have missed this. We are using the global Mazda MX-5 around this 4.6 kilometer circuit that is Barcelona, about 2.9 miles, of course, depending on your units of choice. It is a clockwise layout that will challenge this talent out there today with 16 turns, 7 of those to the left, the other 9 to the right. 40 minutes of racing action, of course, as usual. We are currently in qualifying to sort out the grid for today's event, and we'll give you a bit of a rundown of today's different format that we have going on, and there are the details on screen. Now, don't forget, we will have one competition caution that will be thrown out at a randomized time in the race, and every week that shapes things up just a little bit better. Jonathan Simon in the commentary booth, Cam Dance alongside me, Scott Fountain behind the scenes in production. And Cam, we head to a circuit in iRacing. Not only is it cool conditions, as you can see on screen, but iRacing, this might be one of their best circuits in they've released ever, I think.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. This track has a lot of people have requested it, and it's finally here. This magnificent circuit, the Catalunya, finally on the service. Amazing track. Almost everybody's probably driven it at some point in week 13. Just, yeah, blows you out of the water with how good it is, and just the attention to detail that iRacing has done with this track. It's just so good.
Phil Sell, Greg Galt, Harvey, Stewart, Burton, Rogers, Madison Down, Marcus Ambrose, Nick Carroll. They are just some of the names out there racing today from not only the best talent we have in the sim racing universe, but of course, our universe in the real racing world, which is the reason why the sim racing universe exists. And week to week here, Cam, I just get ever impressed by the names we get for Just Send It.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of big names, like you said, Madison Down, Jared Philsell, and all those sort of guys. It's really good to see them all turning up and having a bit of a go and having a bit of a lob, as they say. But yeah, going to be really interesting tonight, especially in these MX-5s, which aren't your typical race car. Obviously, low power, low grip, really does require you to drive the car to get the most out of it. And big talking point's going to be the draft, because there is a massive headwind down the front straight, and draft is going to be key to doing very well in this car.
Yeah, and I would think now, as we're currently in qualifying, you can see our times on the right-hand side of the screen with Phil Sell currently leading the timing screens. I would assume right now this is not a private qualifying session, because you just saw the likes of Emerson Harvey for a good slipstream there. There's Nick Carroll on screen, and that could be worth about half a second to a second.
Yeah, the draft plays a massive role in these cars. I mean, when we broadcasted the Cut Price Racing Kart Parts MX-5 challenge, it was unbelievable the amount of drafting going on and the massive impact it had. I mean, even just that small amount of draft down that front straight would have had a massive amount of aero efficiency, because it's a headwind, so it's going to be causing massive drag down that front straight, and it's really going to make it interesting come this race, because we're probably going to see trains of cars, like 25 cars long. So really exciting to see what happens, and really cannot wait for it.
Yep, and as we watch Nick Carroll on screen, you may have noticed that we are using the historic layout of Catalunya, and there it is. This is Emily Jones on screen heading into the pits. Emily Jones, an upcoming racer in the Supercars E-Series camp, but here tonight having a bit of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really been interesting to see different drivers all coming out of the woodwork and also being announced for the E-Series. I mean, really, really prestigious series to be announced, and can't wait to see what actually goes on in it, because it's just full of so many good drivers such as Emily Jones, Jared Filsau, Josh Rogers, all those sort of drivers. So really, really looking forward to seeing how it goes and what sort of racing it's going to put on.
You and I should race, mate. Jeez, what are we doing here? I regret this. What's Declan Fraser doing? Oh, he's pulling off. But we had a fun race in the F3 the other week. Not that we intended to meet each other in the official race, but it was good fun while it lasted.
Yeah, it was a little bit unexpected to meet each other in the Formula 3 during week 12 of the official season last season and the third season of the iRacing calendar. So, yeah, it was a bit of fun, obviously, but unfortunate that I ended up putting it in the fence. But this was a really good race in the end.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up so you could say that, but you know what, you did. So there you go. Just a bit of laughs between us, but nevertheless, we focus on the MX-5 right now. This is a car that a lot associate with Rookie Series because obviously when you step into road for the first time, Cam, this is like your car that teaches you iRacing.
Yeah, it's pretty much the rookie class of what we're going to expect of what iRacing has. Sorry, and yeah, it's a really good car. I mean, very basic, so very little you can do to the setup. It's just a really, really good driver's car because of how little grip it's got and how little much power it has as well. So it's all about keeping the momentum going and just really making sure you keep your lines there and being smooth.
Yep, here is your grid for today's event, of course. Now, we will switch over to the race shortly, but for now, it is Filsau on pole position, and Jared Filsau loves the MX-5, and he's ahead of Justin Ruggier there by 0.2 of a second. Greg Galt in the third position, of course, rivals with Filsau in the upcoming Supercars E-Series, an Australian Formula 4 driver, Emerson Harvey, proving his talent starting on that second row. We'll cycle through on screen and some notable names for you. Of course, we spoke about Emily Jones, who will start from 7th. We flow through the rest of the top 10. Jake Burton starts on the 5th row. He'll be in the 10th position. But for me, of course, I'm looking for Marcus Ambrose, Cam, and he is starting. I'm trying to get my calculator
just behind
correct.
Josh Rogers. Yeah, 16th.
16th. Yeah. Good on Marcus Ambrose, one of my favorite drivers of all time.
Yeah,
Fanboy there.
Yeah, he's done quite well to actually put it where he has. I mean, he's literally hardly anything off what Joshua Rogers was. So, clearly the pace is showing between most of the good guys and also the real life guys, and obviously those two things translating into each other.
Yeah, definitely. And some other names, as you can see on screen, of course, down the order include Steve Owen. He'll start down outside your top 20. Madison Down will start from 18th. Miss Madison Down. Nick Carroll splits. It was in a sandwich between Ambrose and Madison Down. That's a lot of talent to be sandwiched by. Lachlan Beneath rounds out your top 24. Glenn Postlethwaite only starting from way down the order there, almost about the 30th position. Yes, he is, exactly 30th. Other names who haven't qualified, Cam, include Michael Taliancic, who I know is extremely quick.
Yeah, there's a couple of drivers out there that are a little bit down the order compared to what you normally expect. Obviously, you've got things like draft and talent and all that sort of stuff fix it up, so there's no having to worry about trying to be little acquire at all. But obviously, you can see the pace differential, and it's not actually a lot if you go all the way down to 32nd, like we're seeing. And even the top 40, it's not even 2 seconds. So it's a really mixed up field, and going to be really, really exciting to watch this race when it comes on.
Yeah, so of course we have our awards each week. We have our best send, has to be successful. We'll look out for that later on today. And if you're in the comments, welcome along, whether you're joining us on Facebook at Just Send It Sim Racing, or of course on YouTube itself. Best send during the race if you think you see it. Or also, Cam, we have the worst failed delivery. which is, well, I guess a million drivers can win that each week. And then, of course, the best postie, so the person who sends it and gained, not named after Glenn Postlethwaite, who for some reason I thought when I read that said the best posse, which, yeah, it's definitely not named after him.
Yeah, certainly not quite. But anyway, qualifying is done and dusted, and we shouldn't be too far away from the race session. A couple of minutes to let the Ammon team get it all sorted, and we shall have a grid in the soon to be immediate future.
Yep, so we will take a short break and we will return with all the action here live on the SimSpeed TV or SimSpeed Esports Network, of course. Don't leave us.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness! Half the field's going to get full.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing!
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Clapman is going to touch in. Pit crash sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Tronke goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I trying this contact though.
Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Benner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRating.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail. Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
iRating, you wanted the best, you got him for a breast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the world of outlaw.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing.
Lee to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save.
Look to the outside, and Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I trying this contact though.
Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Benner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the upset the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashuba, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's going with the outside. Both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to one. Oh my God. Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing.
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save.
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I trying this contact though.
Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Benner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome back to week 4 of Just Send It action. The race is about to commence here from the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Of course, we had 2 qualifying sessions, so our grid will be up on screen for this rolling start. And Cam, of course, those 2 qualifying sessions for different purposes, but we'll still get a nice 53-car field out there today with lots of action on display for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A very stacked field, very busy track as well with 53 MX5s all out there just trying to send it. So going to be really interesting to see what goes on into turn 1, and especially with the being rolling start, it'll make it even more interesting. But nevertheless, let's get this racing on.
The drivers are beginning the rolling start at turn 10. Obviously, we'll cycle through to in the race, but in warm-up, Cam, just before we flicked over to this race session, I saw 4 wide heading into turn 10 coming up the left-hander. Never thought it was possible at Barcelona.
Yeah, I didn't either, but clearly is. So going to be in for some very exciting racing, I reckon, and could be in for some very interesting moments, such as forward into turn 10, like you said.
Historic layout, of course, here today at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So we're going to use essentially what is what the MotoGP riders use when they race around here. This circuit, of course, also hosting rounds of Superbikes and other notable series. So plenty on offer at this historic track. Here's Jared Filsell, though. He will begin proceedings here for 40 minutes of action for week 4 of Just Send It. From myself, Jonathan Simon, Cam Dance in the commentary booth alongside me, Scott Fountain in production. We hope you enjoy today's action from iRacing's brand spanking new circuit, the Barcelona, Catalunya. Phil Sell will floor it anytime shortly. And we go green from Barcelona.
Yeah, very trouble back at the moment in the middle pack. They're going 3 to 4, possibly even 5 wide. And there's been a shunt already down at the front straight.
Oh.
Yep, multiple cars everywhere.
Goodness, I see one car. That's Emily Jones flipping around on her roof there. She'll essentially be out of this event so far. That's caused major carnage. One of the biggest pileups I've ever seen in sim racing.
Absolute chaos. There is just cars everywhere. Just left, right, centre, upside down, just in the water. You don't know what to say. It's just absolute mayhem. Everybody's literally sent it before we've even got into turn 1.
Oh, goodness. Marcus Ambrose involved there as well. And he's pretty much out of the race here. We will watch the replays, Cam. But, wow, a lot of big names out. And it was complete chaos at the first corner. There was more white smoke than there were MX-5s.
It was indeed just tyre smoke, even grey smoke with engines failing, obviously, from impacts. So all sorts going on in the first few laps. We've got replay up on the screen very shortly. But yeah, very, very chaotic start. Very, very interesting start, an unexpected start. But nevertheless, everybody obviously had a bit of a lob and definitely didn't prove us wrong that they would.
Oh, certainly. This is Phil Sell for the lead. I'm having a watch of him as we watch the replays, but Phil Sell's been overtaken by Ethan Grigalt. They head through turn 10 for the first time this afternoon. From third on the grid. He was ahead of all that chaos that we saw, Cam. And he's currently in a respectable position, but yet again, that start was just bizarre.
Yeah, it certainly was. I don't think anyone's ever seen that before, sort of carnage before. I mean, we've seen big carnage, but yeah, unfortunately, number of people out.
That's Jake Maloney on screen. You can see spun out. Look at the leaders. Phil Sell into the gravel. Greg Gold into the gravel. Oh, I never thought that was possible at the end of the first lap. They are only separated by 0.2 of a second, but life's a beach, you could say. They headed out straight into the sand.
Yeah, very, very definitely wired out into the sand, having a bit of a sunbathing, although a little bit difficult with how dark it is. But nevertheless, they've obviously gone to sandcastle building, and everybody's just trying to use as much track as possible, using it to their advantage. And yeah, everybody at the moment all really trying to get in the draft. As you can see, Jared Phil Sell tucked in right behind fellow ERT teammate Ethan Grigalt, trying to use the slipstream, and a bit of a moment.
Phil Sell sends it. Phil Sell sends it up the inside there at the end of the first sector, but they're still going to be alongside each other here for the next left-hander, only by a matter of inches. Can separate them by. And brilliant switchback from Phil Sell. Hey, the dive bomb still works in motor racing.
Yeah, Phil Sell getting the move done there very well to get back on by Ethan Grigalt once again. Not too far behind is also Job Stewart and Justin Ruggiero, but the two ERT teammates still going head to tail with each other.
Thrilling racing so far. Greg Galt will have to remain in second. He did lead the first lap, don't forget. Job Stewart wants a statement in this scrap as they scream into the braking zone of turn 10. To this corner. I'm still trying not to laugh, Cam, at that first lap incident. One of the most bizarre starts I've seen in motor racing.
Yeah, indeed, it was very, very bizarre. Obviously, I'm not even sure how many cars got taken out. I think it would have been at least possibly 20, if not 30 cars.
Oh,
there's still cars coming out of pit lane as the leader was coming round, and they're going sandcastle winning again, nearly, and the fence as well. And Job Stewart's actually going to take the lead of the race out of this.
Yes, I think he took the shortest distance and the shortest route across the straight. They've got some lap cars who have come out of the pit lane. This is 3 wide for the lead into turn 1 at Barcelona. But it looks like Job Stewart, if he can keep it collected under braking, will take that first position. How about Greg Galt now for the inside of turn 3?
Yeah, great move there by Ethan to get up the inside. Now Jared's gonna do the switchback on Job Stewart to try and take P2 back. Now this has brought Justin Ruggiero into this battle, so now we've got a 4-car fight for the lead. Phil Sell trying to find all sorts of space, outbreaks himself a little bit, but not quite, but he's going to... Job Stewart also makes a mistake, and now Phil Sale's going to get second, and Ruggia is possibly going to look to make a move here as well.
Yeah, Justin's positioned quite well. I just saw 4 different lines in one corner by 4 different drivers. These guys are pushing to the limit. Hey, you know what, Cam? If you're off into the gravel at the final corner, why not do it here into the next left-hander?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong. Everybody obviously trying to use maximum amounts of track that they possibly can. And like you said, 4 different lines through one single corner from 4 different drivers. So everybody obviously has their own thoughts on what's quick and what's slow, but clearly these top 4 demonstrating that to perfection.
Andrew Collins is in 7th, started from 42nd. Christina Nasarik is in 8th, started last in 53rd. Made it through the carnage, but it is your top 4 that we've been focusing on, because yet again, Cam, through the final corner, they will not receive a slowdown, but they've got a lap car to deal with up ahead. Are they going to push off to the limits here?
Thinking says they will, and out of the final corner they go, and well, Job Stewart goes sandcastle bottom, but the rest don't, and they're going to go nearly 4 wide with another lap car. This is getting all sorts of dicey for these leaders at the moment.
Oh man, I thought it was going to be 5 wide. Bit of bump drafting going on here. I think that's Phil Sell trying to get Job Stewart. Oh, who's going to go up the inside of who? Phil Sell forces Stewart just to remain modulated on the throttle there. He was a little bit weary of Phil Sell's positioning through that first corner. And look at Ruggia here through turn 3. Oh, only spaced by a matter of inches are Ruggia and Stewart. And they're still getting argy-bargy on the run down to turn 4.
Yeah, still side by side at the moment. Ruggia on the inside, and Stewart's going to try hold around the outside, but Ruggia is going to feed him a left rear and take that position off him. So Ruggia up into P3 after being quite far back in P4, like basically a lap ago. So that just shows you what's going on in this race. But now Madison down and the rest of this field actually catching up as well. So going to be all sorts going on in these next few laps, I reckon.
Yeah, Madison down in the 5th position. Looking racy. I caught up with Madison and the guys on Saturday night. Had a bit of dinner, the Supercars E-Series drivers. So nice to meet them all in the flesh for the first time.
Yeah, it's always good to meet everybody that you've seen online. You finally get to put a face to a name sort of thing. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what that E-Series presents, as still these leaders are fighting for position. Ruggia all over the back end of Jared Philsell into turn number 10. They nearly ran into the back of him, but not quite. As Philsell's trying to make a move on his teammate of Ethan Grigol, looking up the inside, not quite enough for him though.
Obviously fixed setup for these guys. You reckon they're not going to receive a slowdown for doing what they just did there?
Or debatable. As they're still bumping each other off the road, and Philsell's going to go sandcastle building out of the final corner again.
Is the battle for the lead. They'll cross the line. Greg Galt still leads this battle. He's led the most laps so far in this 40-minute event. I almost don't want the competition caution. Philsell bump drafting Galt, and that could be smart actually. Has to be said here, Cam, because if they can just break themselves away from Ruggia and Stewart, of course, behind, they can have their own little race for the win.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really, really sort of a head game, this race, with how much the draft is playing a factor in this, and with how quick these 4 out front are. If they can break the draft, then pretty much that'll be all good, as Philsell dives it up the inside of Ethan Grigol again at turn 4, and now Ruggia into P number 3 again, and the two of them, Ethan Grigol and Jared Philsell, are going to go side by side, nearly wheel to contact into turn number 5. Philsell on the outside, and this is going to allow Ruggia up the inside. Ruggia not quite going to get the move done there, but he's up the inside heading into turn number 6.
Yeah, and of course we're watching this lead battle, but there's plenty of slicing and dicing going on in the mid-pack. Glenn Wood, driver, out here racing today. That's in the real world. He's currently in the 11th position, right behind Blake Haswell. And Dean O'Brien right behind him. They're in a nice little battle for that final spot in the top 10. Nah, this is oh, look at that defensive driving there from Ruggia. Up the inside, Philsell's blown it. Philsell's gone too deep into T10.
Yeah, Philso had a little bit too hard of a lob there, and now he's going to be side by side with his former Trans-Tasman Racing teammate Madison down, but Madison's going to think better of it and just back out and sit behind for the time being. But now this is going to possibly allow Ethan Grigott to try break away, although, like we've seen for the past several laps, that draft is just so overpowering, and Job Stewart and the rest of this train are going to be able to hold on for so long.
You saw them place. Basically, they drive over the sausage curb. The ride height on this fixed setup allows you to do that. And what do you reckon into turn one here for Stewart? Send it up the inside. He's a mile behind Ethan Grigott. Why not go for it?
Well, Justin Ruggiero also thinking about it, but they all slot into a single file for the time being. No one really trying to make a move, so everybody for the time being nice and sensible and just trying to be patient with this race.
So, of course, here we've crossed the half-an-hour mark of this race. Oh, no, excuse me, I mean the 10-minute mark. We have half an hour remaining. Of course, thanks to our sponsors too. You can see them on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. The Hype Project, Wolfchester, EB Galvanizing, and of course SimWorks. Get this series done, and you get to see, well, you would not get to see the action you've been seeing so far, as it not been for them. Through turn 5, they go the left-hander. Again, the line of multiple corners, it should be named. Phil Sell's got an opportunity here in fourth to maybe slot it up the inside.
Yeah, Ruggiero getting a bit of a bump from Jared there. And he's got it really crossed up. Not quite going to save it, unfortunately, so he'll drop down the order. So this race has now become a 4-horse race from 5. As now Madison down on the outside of Jared Philso. He's just going to hold on to the position for the time being. They've got a lap car just behind them of Ben McMillan. So we'll see what happens there. It looks like Ben's going to get on up the inside of Jared, but at the moment, Job Stewart's still all over the back end of Ethan Grigott.
Yeah, and safe news, Ruggiero didn't rejoin the racetrack like on the weekend. Sorry, Sebastian. But that was obviously pretty comical, the way he rejoined. And all the way down the order, I'd like to know where he is. He's all the way down in 9th at the moment, so he's lost a lot of time from that. But back to your leaders. It looks like Job Stewart here is going to have a good run, a mammoth run on the main stretch for P1.
Yeah, he's going to pull out of the draft. You can just see that headwind really impacting Ethan Grigott. In fact, Job Stewart actually lifts out of it, so he's actually going to allow the other two behind him, Madison Down and Jared Philso, drop back to actually start catching up again if he's not careful.
Stewart on 2 wheels through turn number 1. Pushed it through. My feedback, 30 seconds, just watching these cars scream through the final corner into the gravel. It's just hilarious, but you know what? Oh, Stewart on the inside. That was close, Cam.
It nearly tried to fit it into a gap that didn't exist and go full Ayrton Senna spec on it, but didn't quite get the job done and decided better of it. So sitting in P2 for the time being, but Madison Down and Jared Philso bumper to bumper at the moment, trying to push each other, try and catch 2 ahead of them. It's really starting to come together once again for this top 4.
And Jake Burton's on a run through the field. And Dean O'Brien, you're watching on screen, of course, Jake Burton right behind them. Jake Burton is, was started from 10th, had an awful start after that crash, and now trying to reclaim some positions, along with Emerson Harvey behind. Here he is around the outside of turn 5. This is a nice little scrap here, Cam.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few cars in this little battle here. You got Dean O'Brien, Jack Widders, Jake Byrne, Nick Foster looked up the inside of Jake Byrne. Oh, a bit of contact for good measure onto the back end, and even Emerson Harvey in this battle. So nice little scrap going on for this mid-pack of the top 20 at the moment. And you can just see Burton try to make his way through all these cars to try and recover a position. He's got back up into 18th for the time being, but he's probably going to get swamped by the cars behind in the near distant future.
Yeah, most certainly. There's Job Stewart. Got so much sand in that MX-5. On the main stretch here, Madison Down and Phil Sell, former TTR teammates, now rivals, not only tonight, but in the sim racing world. And the thing is, Cam, with the competition caution coming out, if you're Phil Sell and Madison Down, you've almost got no chance of catching the 2 up ahead. So you might as well just form up, not lose any more positions, because you could end up like Justin Ruggiero all the way down in 8th.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those weird things that you got to try and think about. You got to think about, well, I want to try and catch the guys here, but also I want to have a bit of fun here, trying to have a bit of a lob. So it's really interesting as Madison down pretty much just brushing the front bumper on the rear bumper of Jared Filsau. Then Filsau's run wide a little bit through turn number 5. As Madison down trying some different lines once again, but like you said, that competition caution is going to bring them back into this. So it's really going to be interesting to see what happens here and whether they do actually end up taking each other out or not.
Still watching through the middle part of the lap. Oh, a lot of pit stops going on at the moment. Do you think that's strategic, obviously, for fuel? These cars, as far as I know, I haven't heard that they've been fuel limited, though. They have 30%.
And speaking of, we've just received the competition caution.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, so excuse me. I did hear about it. I just haven't... I just lost it in my notes. 30% fuel limit for these cars at the moment, so they will have to make a pit stop. This is interesting now, because we saw last week at Monza, some drivers at the last second weren't able to enter the pit lane because of the yellow flag.
Yeah, and the way with iRacing's caution works is that if the caution does come in and you've just entered the lane, you do get a black flag and sent to the end of the line, I believe. But if you are in pit lane when it comes out, you're pretty much fine. So this is going to shake this field up a lot, because you've got drivers who were in pit lane already. As I've just seen Madison down nearly run into the back of Ethan Grigol into where the safety car is. So that was very, very close. 2 wheels on the grass even to try and pull it up. So yeah, that was unbelievable. But like we said, there's a couple of drivers who have already pitted and have taken advantage and pretty much been given a free kick with the way this caution is formed, whereas all these leaders are going to have to probably pit under the safety car to try and get the fuel in instead of doing it under the green flag.
So this race has taken a turn for the worse for some drivers. It's a bonus. The highest placed driver I can see who's entered the pit lane is Dean O'Brien, who's currently listed in 11th. Nick Carroll as well in the 13th position. Nick Carroll, of course, we know races in the real world, along with the likes of Emerson Harvey, who's entered the pit lane. Through it, I don't think he entered it on the first lap. I think he's just crossed it last time by. I have to double check that.
Yeah, I think you might be right in that he did it before. Not sure.
So we'll have to double check that. But nevertheless, Emerson Harvey's made a pit stop, and we'll wait and see if he's okay on fuel. This is where the confusion starts. We don't know who's going to be positioned where, and we'll wait in these last 20 minutes for the field. Well, not in the last 20 minutes, in the next couple of laps for the field. I'm up behind this pace car. And the funny thing is, we have over 40 drivers to form up here from the Circuit de Catalunya. This will be one of the best sights we will see in sim racing. A safety car restart at Barcelona across one of the longest front straights, over 1 kilometer long.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the turn. And obviously, everybody's going to be really stacked up behind each other off this restart. And yeah, we're going to be all about that draft in a turn 1. Whether Greg Galt goes defensive or not will be a real interesting point to see. But nevertheless, this draft is really going to be playing havoc off this restart, that's for sure.
How much experience do you have in the MX-5? Surely a lot.
Not a lot. I've obviously done my rookie stuff in the MX-5. It was actually the old MX-5 when I joined, but I've driven it a little bit. It's not too bad of a car. Actually quite enjoyable if you know how to drive it right. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what's really going to happen with all these cars stacked up behind each other, because like we saw in previous editions of these MX-5 races, it's all about that draft and all about being patient. And the other cool bit is obviously being road cars. This was just seen Ethan Grigol and Jared Filson and Madison Down, Andrew Collins, Jake Cole, all into the pits.
Sorry to interrupt there, Cam. That was Job Stewart diving into the pit lane, diving out, and then just shuffling himself back in. That was like Lewis Hamilton at Hockenheim. Remember last year?
Yeah, actually was. It was very, very close. They nearly hit the pit wall there, which was would have been very unideal, but nevertheless, he's managed to get in there. And whether he'll have a penalty will be interesting, but I don't think he will, though.
In. Isn't that what happened to Lewis Hamilton?
It was indeed.
Well, here they all are to the pit lane. Let's have a look at this pit party. One driver already out. That's Madison down with a ultra-fast pit stop. Oh, he's going to have to slot in right behind Phil Sell. That was very close.
Yeah, doesn't look like anybody else has really gained. Although, actually, Job Stewart has lost a position, I believe, to Andrew Collins. So now Collins up into what was P3 from P4 for the time being. And currently your effective race leader is actually Justin Ruggier.
By the way, I'm trying to figure out who's where here at turn 3. I don't even think the drivers know what position they're in. They're all trying to figure it out. Thank God this is done automated on iRacing and their brilliant service and not manually, because I'd be lost if I was a race steward.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't want to be doing live race control manually with all this safety car procedure and what's been going on with how many cars there are on track. I mean, you got drivers who are 3-2 wide and that sort of stuff just messing around under safety car. It's absolutely chaotic. Obviously, you've got lap cars between lead cars and all that sort of stuff. So, going to be really, really interesting to see what happens off this restart.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Justin Ruggier is leading the race. He is not the first car behind the pace car. That is Jack Hodder. Because Jack Hodder's listed... He's listed in 36. Now, don't forget, the top 2 have not completed a pit stop. So, technically, Dean O'Brien is your leader. These pace car lights are out. 20 minutes to go, Cam. We're ready to send it at Catalunya.
Indeed, we are once again. Don't wonder if there's going to be another big shunt down the front straight after what we saw on the original start, but hopefully we don't. Although, who knows? It's just send it. Someone might have a bit of a lob down the front straight and end up off the road, but nevertheless, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm actually seeing a car pouring smoke out of its engine bay further down the field.
So a blown engine, potentially, for one of the drivers. And just trying to spot where, of course, the rest of the field, or where our leaders were. Phil Sell's 9th. Greg Gold's 8th. Madison down 10th. Didn't end up too badly for them. Where Joe Stewart is? I can't see him in the order.
I believe he's in 16th.
There he is.
Way down the order at the moment from where he was.
Yeah, right next to Simon Black here. Oh, we're not going to go green. So they are still trying to sort out the field here. There could still be penalties to serve. As I said, there was the wrong driver behind the pace car. I wasn't sure who it was, but there was a driver behind the pace car that shouldn't have been. So now the leaders will have to catch the pace car. Emerson Harvey recognizes this as a brilliant time to enter the pit lane. But Ruggier and Rosenblatt, why did I say Roosevelt? Rosenblatt continue.
And James Stewart's actually back in the pit lane as well. So interesting bit of strategy from there. As I think he got a penalty, and Mitchell McLeod also in the pit lane too.
So Ambrose, Maloney, Jones, Bo Albert, Bo Albert. Unfortunately, all out of the event. So we've just heard word from producer Scott Farrington behind the scenes. Scott says, Cam, that Justin could be trying to save fuel. Now, we haven't had a chance to test this thoroughly. Of course, the track car combination for Just Send It only released 24 hours before the event itself. But do you think it's possible for him to save fuel and run without a stop?
Could possibly, because the safety car is going to take a while to get around, and he's only crawling at about 87 kilometers an hour, and I believe it's 5th gear at the moment. So every chance he could be fuel saving for that matter, and possibly not make a pit stop in the end.
Yep, and you're seeing some cars here just make their way through the field. A lot of MX-5s. Jake Burton's going to unlap himself, of course. seen off screen driving through the iRacing pace car. I've seen in other sims, Cam, where you can't drive through the pace car and it ends up taking you out.
Yeah, I have seen that on a number of occasions. Obviously, R-Factor, the more prominent one that is obvious, a bit of a solid safety car, that one, and there has been some cases where it has come through the field and absolutely destroyed all the cars that it's been trying to get to the front. So, yeah, get it a little bit different, but nevertheless, it's still there and active on the track.
So who gets your best send so far?
Good question. Probably Full Cell at this point for some of the massive lobs that he's had, although we'll see what happens off this restart because it could end up going to someone further down the field.
Yeah, and this is odd because again, the pace car lights are out. Roger is not even close to the pace car. He's a country mile behind. Through turn 10 now, Rogier's a bit quicker here. See for this, will he?
Should catch up to it, but yeah, should catch up to it. So like we were saying, he's trying to get a gap, and also possibly was actually fuel saving earlier on in the safety car.
Yeah, so Reese Lowe, obviously from the Hype Project, also racing. He's asking the drivers to get a move on. Let's send it. He wants to go racing. Roger will be able to continue proceedings here from the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya. Less than 15 minutes remain. It's up to Roger and Rosenblatt to lead the field. We will go green right now.
Oh, not a good start for Roger. He's been absolutely swamped by everyone behind him, and everybody's trying to find a bit of racetrack. Couple of drivers going sandcastle building out of the final corner. We're going to go 4 wide into turn 1, possibly even 5 wide.
Oh, they're all trying to fight for the same piece of tarmac. One driver taking off to the racetrack. Driver spun. That's the 17 of Ethan Griggold. He's out of contention for the win, surely, with that spin. Oh, he's only just put the car in the first gear. Through in towards turn 4 for the first time now. On this restart, Ruggier still leads, of course, yet to make his pit stop.
Yeah, he's saved a bit of fuel under that safety car, although whether he still has to make a pit stop will be unsure. He might end up having a win cup situation of being minus 100 on the final lap. Oh, bit of contact further back just between Madison Down and Dino O'Brien there through turn number 5, and you can see a number of other cars getting turned and having contact. There's been a big mess at turn 5. Everybody's trying to take action. There's Full Cell's been involved.
Yep, Phil Sell is out of the race. He's pulled it. That car's done and dusted. Madison Down spun around. All our leaders are out. Every driver we thought had a chance of winning this race is out, except Justin Ruggier. Make a pit stop. We could have a surprise winner in 10 minutes' time.
Well, direction's saying every chance that Glenn Wood can do it. He's actually sitting in a very, very good position at the moment. He's in about 4th position at the moment, just behind Brad Newman and Tyler Howard, with obviously Justin Ruggier leading the field, although some confusion over to whether he's got enough fuel to make it to the end, but nevertheless, Glenwood sitting in a very good position at the moment for the time being, as is Chris Owen and Andrew Collins as well.
So, of course, this is all in a bit of fun, just send it. Your top sim racers and even the top real-world drivers will get a bit heated in an event like this. The competition's on, you know. Anytime you decide to race on, your competitive mode just takes over your emotions.
Yeah, it can do sometimes, unfortunately. Obviously, all this for a bit of fun, but you do sometimes get a little bit competitive from time to time. It's obviously racing, so completely natural for everybody to end up getting a little bit overly competitive in something fun like this from time to time, but nevertheless, it's a bit of natural life, as we can see clearly from time to time. But at the moment, it looks like Ruggier is trying to break away from this field, but just behind, just inside and outside the top 10, everybody's still scrapping for position.
Yeah, well, I really don't know who's going to win this in 10 minutes' time. Could be Rajia. Glenn Wood, Australian GT driver, also placed well. Quickest out of the leaders, but he is yet to make a pit stop. And if you're just joining us, question remains whether or not he'll be able to cross the finish line and receive the checkered flag with enough fuel left in that MX-5. I haven't though, Cam, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Line through Brighton Beach and St Kilda Beach at the final corner.
Yes, indeed, that is correct. Although there's actually something else I want to point out. Someone else hasn't pitted either, and that's Michael Rosenblatt, who's quite a little bit down the order, but currently 2 drivers out there who have not pitted yet. So quite an interesting strategy.
Yeah, Rosenblatt, of course, involved in the incident at the restart with Grid Galt. So he's lost an immense amount of positions. Oh, what's happened to Glenn Wood? Glenn Wood's had an issue, and it looks like he may have had a spin, Cam, and this was in the final sector. I believe we're hearing word right around turn 12.
Oh, contact with Chris Owen by the looks of it. Owen was just up the inside and made a little bit of rearing contact with Glenn Wood, unfortunately. So Wood being spun there and has dropped quite a way down the order, unfortunately.
Yeah, I had an eye on Chris Owen in that past lap, and he's looked very hungry for positions. That's just an understatement. He's been barging his way through and past many drivers for the moment. Oh, let's take a breath, you know. I mean, we know we can see the order at the top of the screen, but man, I need a rest, and we still got less than about 8 minutes remaining. Gosh.
Yeah, it's definitely all going off at the moment with numerous cars. Actually, good little scrap just outside the top 10 between Emerson Harvey, Jack Wittes, Luke Claver, Job Stewart, and Blake Haswell as well. As there's a little bit of contact between Job Stewart and I believe that was Luke Claver. So all sorts going on just outside the top 10. And now Michael Hammond and Jackson Susan Harlow in this battle as well. So I think it's about 6 cars all trying to battle for the final top 10 position.
I like this. Nice little scrap. Look at the positions changed as well. Everyone from 2nd to 10th started outside your top 25. And if you take out Dean O'Brien in 5th, everyone else started outside the top 30.
Yeah, definitely not wrong there. And actually, looking at the order, the biggest gain is actually Andrew Collins plus 38, as well as Tyler Howard plus 38, and then Brad Newman plus 48. So big gains there. On big incident between Michael Hammond and that little group we were focusing on just before with Jackson Susan Harlow, Jack Wittes, and also Joe Stewart have all come together through the final sector, just bouncing off each other with a bit of contact, but they kept on going, straighten each other up and back into it once again.
Yeah, oh, that's one stricken car there. Very slow here on the main stretch. Can't quite spot who that is. Very racy into turn 1 here. Hammond up ahead, Stewart behind. Jack Wittes here looking for the 11th position. Oh,
big shot
into turn 1.
That is going to be the biggest lobby you'll see tonight, and that is definitely going to take the award for the biggest failed scene, that's for sure.
Oh, goodness. So was Job Stewart angry about something there?
Possibly after that incident in the final sector the previous lap, but not entirely sure.
I'll tell you what, he's either really angry or he's laughing his head off right now. We saw 4 wide through turn 10 between the 4. A bit restless. And then Joe Stewart just basically called his day done. Here's Justin Ruggier in the lead for the moment. I think he can make it here, Cam. It's going to be close.
Yeah, he hasn't backed off at all, so I'd say he's probably going to make it, although if he does, it's probably going to be very, very marginal with how much the fuel tank was restricted in this event.
Yeah, and that incident at turn 1 with Job Stewart. Oh, man. I just want to know his reaction. Like, when I watched Bo's incident at Spa, do you remember that one? I didn't expect Bo to be laughing hysterically. as we see a nice little scrap here between your final positions in the top 5.
Yeah, 5 cars all going at it, building sandcastles even to try and get on the podium, I believe it is at this point. Yes, it is. The pretty much 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and even 6th in there. No, actually 6th are a little bit further behind, but you've got a number of cars all in there trying to get on the podium, and they're all just trying to find a bit of racetrack, going 2 by 2, just behind, and someone's off the road. That was, I believe,
Andrew Collins.
Owen. Oh, Andrew Collins, sorry, yes indeed.
Yeah, Andrew Collins was shoved off the racetrack by Tyler Howard. Right behind Howard is Newman. Then it's O'Brien. Owen behind this pack. Of course, Collins, after forcing himself off the racetrack, inside the driver of Chris Owen here. They head through turn 4 yet another time. This is all going to help Roger save a bit of fuel here to win this race if he needs it. But these drivers are hungry. Win.
Yeah, you can
3
see
wide.
Brandon with a big lob up the inside. And now Tyler Howard's going to get the run. They're going to be 2 by 2 here.
I've never seen 2 wide into the next left-hander. I've never seen 3 wide into it. What are they going to do heading into the uphill left here at Catalunya? And then to the right-hander of turn 9. Who's going to end out in the 2nd position? Like I said, this could end up being for the win, depending or not if Justin Ruggier can creep up to the finish line in the lead. Everybody going for the same piece of tarmac.
Yeah, everybody trying to find a bit of racetrack. Oh, a bit of door banging as well for good measure. Tyler Howard being a bit of a boxing bag between all the cars at the moment in that real big pack. They're going to be 3 wide into the turn 11. 4. That's really, really close. Managed to sort themselves out. Now there's going to possibly be more contact. Everybody trying to find racetrack here. There's just none open. It's like being on the M1 at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, I love this so far. Floor it into the final corner, boys. Come on. Do a Phil Sell. Do a Greg Galt. They all keep it clean. And taking the shortest route. Only 3 minutes remain in this race. We should be able to squeeze in a couple of more laps, of course. Ruggier leads. This is the battle for pit. No, Ruggie's in the pit lane. Excuse me. This is going to be the battle for the win now between these 5.
Yeah, so Ruggier obviously not quite able to save enough fuel. 3 wide for 2nd. It's between Dean O'Brien, Chris Owen, and Tyler Howard. Howard on the outside, Owen in the middle. Now this is going to bring Andrew Collins into this. So it's all going off at the moment. Brad Newman just ahead of them, pretty much just striding away, but it's all going off for 2nd. About a 6-car train at the moment.
So Brad Newman is positioned well for the win. RG Bargy, O'Brien, and Chris Owen, they make a bit of contact there through turn 4, now heading through the left-hander of 5. Still alongside each other. Impressive, and he's looked good. And Glenn Postlethwaite in the 5th position. He's also got an opportunity to win here, Cam, as one of the lap cars straight out of the way.
Yeah, that was Griffin Gardner just getting out of the way off the road to let the leaders on through. But yeah, Posy really in a good position here to try and get the win at this stage, sitting in the top 5, sorry, just behind Chris Owen. He's going to look up the inside, but not quite going to sit in behind for the time being.
Broke way too early heading into turn 10. Crispin is trying to was on a recovery drive at least into the top 10. Tyler Howard's having issues after he was in a scrap for the lead. But Brad Newman is our best positioned driver here for the win. He heads through the final corner and he's got about a second's advantage here. And this, Cam, will be the final lap, I believe, and unofficial for the moment. But Brad Newman only has one hand on the trophy. It's not sealed yet.
Yeah, it's not quite sealed at all. It's going to be really close between these two. Obviously, Newman's going to be in clean air, and he's going to have that headwind down the front straight. So now Dean O'Brien really, really close now. He's going to be real close enough pretty much to make a move. So we'll see what happens. He's looking left, right, everywhere he possibly can. Newman's coming under a lot of pressure from Dean O'Brien. Is O'Brien going to try and make a move here? No, he's going to sit station. Oh, no, he's not. Going to throw it up the inside. Going to make use those bumpers a little bit, but going to keep it clean for the most part. And Brad Newman will just hold on for the time being.
And this would be heroic for Brad Newman, who started 50th in this race out of 53 drivers. O'Brien for the switchback here for the lead, for the win on the final lap of Just Send It for week 4. They're only separated by a matter of inches here as they jockey for position in turn 7. Here they form up, and it looks like O'Brien has a brilliant run heading into the into turn 9. But how about Andrew Collins in third? Let's not count him out of the fray.
Yeah, I wouldn't count Andrew Collins out just yet, and I wouldn't count Glenn Postlewaite and Chris Owen, because if any these three ahead of them make a mistake, they'll be there to take advantage. And now Newman's going to try go around the outside. He's outbroken himself, and now that's going to let Andrew Collins on through. And Collins is trying to get up the inside of Dean O'Brien, getting through the final sector. Brad Newman's going to try go around the outside, nearly contact. And Newman's going to end up running one. Now Pozzie's right in this, like we said. He's going to be right there or thereabouts. But now coming through the final 2 corners, Dean O'Brien's got the lead, and now Brad Newman's going to be all over the back end. He's going to look up the inside of Andrew Collins. Collins is going to try keep the boot in, a bit of contact between himself and Brad Newman. And Pozzie's actually going to drive around the outside. And with contact, he's still going to get on the podium. But what a win for Dean O'Brien that was.
Yep, Dean O'Brien wins week 4 of Just Send It. And a brilliant one there with a final lap overtake here at the Circuit de Catalunya in the Mazda MX-5. Brilliant victory from him. He started in the 25th position. But for the likes of Brad Newman, who started from 50th, Brad Newman's, he's twirling around, he's dancing around there like a ballerina into the first corner. He's been sent after the race. Oh, that was a thrilling finish.
Yeah, absolutely awesome finish to end that race. Spectacular race. We didn't know what was going to happen. You just had cars everywhere trying to make passes, and yeah, it was just unbelievable.
Well, drivers still crashing after the race. All in a bit of fun here for week 4 of Just Send It. Oh, what a finish, man. Everybody in your top 10 started outside the top 10.
And Teeth, that did. Dan O'Brien up 24 positions. Andrew Collins plus 40. Postlewaite 27. Brad Newman plus 46, Chris Owen plus 29, Jackson Susan Harlow plus 33. It was just pretty much everybody all gained a massive amount of positions.
Oh man, I've ran out of breath, but let's have a look at our final race results as a few people are still crossing the line. So of course it is Dean O'Brien who wins week 4 of Just Send It. Cam, you might need to do the rest of this because, man, I'm done up for the energy, man. These races are so much every week. Collins ends up second. Postlethwaite, who was Scott Fountain's choice, our producer behind the scenes, only ends up on the podium, but nevertheless a good podium there. I think if you gave him one more lap, he could have been able to win that race. Brad Newman, who started 50th, but of course, a lap. Going into it with the white flag waved, only ended up 4th at the checkered flag. Chris Owen, very aggressive in the final stages, rounded out the top 5. And a few other notable names you'll see down the order. They include Glenn Wood in the 9th position. Involved in the running of the series, ended up with the top 10 position. Brilliant stuff from him. Justin Ruggier, at the end of the day, Cam, ended up in 12th after a late pit stop. Not as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah, he actually didn't end up doing too bad out of that, despite having to pit under green compared to a lot of people. So not too bad of a finish there for Ruggier. But heading down the rest of the order, you've got Ben McMillan in 13th, 14th, Luke Clover, Jake Cool in 15th, 16th, Reese Lowe, 17th, Jack Wittes, Nick Foster in 18th, Brad Ryan in 19th. Running out the top 20, Craig Edwards. And then we go back down at the rest of the order with Lachlan Minefield, Gary Hamilton, Bailey Sweeney, Simon Black, Luke Brown, Guy Leach, Griffin Gardner, Glenn Gussiardo, Ethan Grigol, Tyler Howard, Jack Hodder, Madison Down, Jake Byrne, Jared Filsau, and then the rest, all your DNFs, unfortunately, after what happened on that one with that spectacular shunt.
Yeah, fastest lap went to Madison Down with a 2-minute 0.301. I think that might be the only lap that was legal by Madison Down.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of sandcastle building, so it would not surprise me if it was the only legal lap. In fact, it probably wouldn't have been a lot of legal laps from a lot of drivers, that's for sure.
No, certainly not. So it will be time to wrap up here from the SimSpeed TV broadcast booth. What an event it's been. I thoroughly enjoyed this series week to week. And of course, our real world talent and our sim racing talent will get back down to a bit more serious business after tonight's display. But if you'd like to see more Just Send It action, of course, the magnificent talent you saw out here today will be back racing again the 17th of September. That's in a week's time. It will be for 40 minutes around a circuit and car combination that will be revealed 24 hours before the day of the event. So the combo, of course, will host week 5 action of Just Send It. Stay tuned, of course, on the Just Send It Facebook page for more information. Thanks to our sponsors. They include the Hype Project, Wolfchester, Vantage Freight, GB Galvanizing, and of course, SimWorks. They are who get it done. Send it. And thank you to everybody else behind the scenes. From myself, Jonathan Simon, Scott Fountain in production, Cam Dance has been alongside of me in the commentary booth. We say so long from Barcelona. Dean O'Brien, our winner. We'll catch you in a week's time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?